What is up, Goon Valley fans? We're back for another One Piece video today. We got the full spoilers for chapter 1159 here in front of us. So, just in case you have not read these spoilers for yourself though yet, I will be linking it down in the pinned comment as per usual, as well as typing it out piece by piece so you can check it out there. Because today, as always, we're here to tackle the brass tacks and just have some fun talking about the chapter. So, getting right into it, big news Morgans. That is the first thing I want to talk about, because who is this lad? We ask this every single time, but I'm dead serious this time, brother. Big news Morgans, at the ripe age of 15, walked up to Cypherpole and said, hey, you guys either pay me money, or I'm going to leak information about God Valley to Hachinosu. Cypherpole said, oh, we're just gonna eliminate you then, Morgans. And then Morgan says, do it if you have the courage to. What? Who is this guy? You're telling me Cypherpole bent the knee to a 15-year-old Big News Morgans? And mind you, weirdly enough, even all the way back then, Morgans constantly used his Zoan Devil Fruit form. We still do not see what Morgans' real form actually looks like, which is crazy. Just thinking about how at a young age, he was already the president of the News Corporation. Like, I thought there would be like a senior officer, or maybe he'd be an underling. But no, Morgans was just always that guy. I just don't get it, man. Like, when he takes off the bird form, will we know who he is? Is he just going to be a stranger? Will Morgans even matter at the end of the story? Outside of just, printing newspapers, I just have no clue. But yeah, that right there just really stuck with me. Now, another thing in this chapter that really stuck with me and something I want to talk about is Rox and Harald. According to the brief spoilers, they met up before God Valley, they talked, and that's how we learned that Rox's real name is actually Davy. He is Davy D. Xebec. And after reading the full spoilers, I said, wait a minute. Not only did they talk, they kind of talked in a similar fashion to Roger and Whitebeard. We have a parallel going on here. Before Roger offered himself up to the world government and got executed, he had a drink with Whitebeard. And that is what's happening here. Rox, when he sees Harald waiting for him off the coast, he says, hey, Harald, before we fight, let's have a drink real quick. And then, just like how Roger said, hey, Whitebeard, my real name isn't Gold Roger, it's actually Gold D. Roger, Rox does the same thing. He says, hey, Harald, there's a hidden part of my name. My real name is Davy D. Xebec. My clan is probably something the government has been trying to completely eliminate for a long time. With the legendary pirate Davy Jones as our ancestor, my clan has managed to survive, just barely. I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but I have a kid now, and I decided to send them both to my homeland, telling them that they should rely on the Davy clan. But of course, his homeland is God Valley, the place where the rabbit hunting tournament is going down. So yeah, this just gave me major Roger Whitebeard vibes here, and it's really cool, because in a way, I do look at Harald, and I'm like, man, how would Harald stack up against the young Whitebeard? I feel like Harald would just win. Maybe that's recency bias, dropping the R word there, but Harald is kind of that guy, man. So of course, after hearing all of this, after hearing that Rox wants to go save his family, Harald throws the fight so that Rox can just go about his day. And it's sad knowing that after this, Rox just perishes. This is one of Rox's final somber moments in a way, right? Because up until this point, he was probably panicking about his family. And then, of course, even with his own crew, he had to lie to them. Harald is the only person out of everybody that knows that Rox's family lives at God Valley. Because even Rox says that he's heading to God Valley to save Shaki. But in reality, he's saving his wife and kid. And then, even earlier on in the chapter, they say that the Pirates of Hachinosu learned that Shaki was being used as a tournament prize in God Valley, so they headed out to save her. They don't know about Rox's family, brother. That's tough. Rox cannot spill the beans or have a real conversation with anybody other than Harald. Of course here, we do get the nuance. Linlin, Big Mom, was going after the other prizes. She was going after the devil fruits for her children, which makes sense, right? Given the fact that Big Mom can't exactly do anything with Shaki. And then, of course, Linlin also tells Kaido that maybe while they're there, he can get a cool devil fruit power too. And then we see Roger and Garp, and they are also heading to God Valley. And Roger says, "Rocks, that bastard, how could this happen under his watch? I will kill him." And that is in reference to the fact that Rocks, quote, let Shaggy get captured while on his island. He didn't let it happen, but of course, Shaggy was at his home base, so that is pretty embarrassing. Which is crazy, right? I cannot believe that Wang Ji was able to do this. Wang Ji managed to capture Shaggy and kill Don Marlone. And I'm gonna admit it, guys. I am a little bit salty that this was off-screened, because I am just oh so curious as to how Ochoku fights. Because I doubt we're gonna see it nowadays, right? Wang Ji has already been defeated current day. Blackbeard, Kobe, and Law, they teamed up to take him down. He is a powerhouse. How does he fight? What is his fighting style? Does he have a devil fruit? We will never know. And that's a little bit unfortunate. Maybe that'll be like an SBS question and I'll be okay with that. But I just want to know more about Wang Ji, man. How is he able to do this? And then Don Marlone, right? Like, he had so much aura, and here he is, just dead and gone. I'm assuming he kind of fought like Capone Bej, just minus the devil fruit. But even then, I want to see if he had any special gunslinging abilities. Did he have a family here, just like how Capone Bej has a family inside of his stomach? And I'm not talking about semen either. And then, of course, as far as like Shaggy being kidnapped, so does Shaggy's abilities just not work on Ochoku as well? Because Ochoku was one of the characters that had hard eyes popping out when they saw Shaggy. So how was he able to resist that? Was his willpower simply that strong and he could just overcome his lust over Shaggy? I don't know. That WG bag though, man, it must have been insane. But also, speaking about Shaggy getting kidnapped, we learn who put the hit order out on her. And of course, lo and behold, it was none other than the Garling. So we cut back over to God Valley, and Garling is introduced to his two sons, Shanks and Shamrock. And the mom is like, "Hey, Garling, let's just live here. Let's settle down." Garling says, "Nope, this island is going to disappear soon." He just outright tells her. And after he says that, he takes out his sword and he stabs her, bro. And at first, I was wondering why. It's like, dude, just bring her back to the Holy Land. Given how strong her genes are, given the fact that Shanks and Shamrock are absolute monsters, it's like, bro, what are you doing here, man? And then we get the reason why he abandoned her. It's because he found a suitable woman to become his wife. And that woman is Shaggy. He doesn't even have her yet, mind you. Shaggy is the main prize at God Valley. Garling doesn't even have her, but he's already preparing that slot for her, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. So yes, Garling's intentions are to marry Shaggy after God Valley. And while this is what Garling wants to do, this isn't what every Celestial Dragon wants. Because at the end of the chapter, we see multiple Celestial Dragon families there. We only really see the families that we already know of. Like we see Sommers, younger here. We see the man Meyer girl, and we also see a long-haired Gunko as well. And they're all talking about what they want to do with Shaggy once they capture her. Some families do want to wed her, while some other characters like Sommers simply want to make Shaggy their slave. So, if I was Shaggy, I'd be rooting for Garling, right? Anybody but Sommers, man. Please, please, please. And also, one thing I do want to make note of, but since Gunko is here, the chances that Emu could show up on this island are very high. If things do start getting a little bit insane with Garp, Roger, and Rocks all fighting on this island, plus the Holy Knights, and then plus the Gorosei being here, it's like, yeah, I could see Emu stopping by and saying, "Hey, you guys aren't cleansing fast enough, I will, step in and take the reins," or something. Because Emu could do that. At any point in time, Emu could just simply take over Gunko. I don't know if he can do that for the other Holy Knights, or if it's a Gunko exclusive ability. That is still something that's up in the air. But yeah, since Gunko is here, I think Emu does have a nice reciprocal to slide into if they need to. On to the next thing I do want to talk about. That would be, of course, the Davy Clan. So, according to how the Master of Ceremonies talks about the Davy Clan at the end of the chapter by calling them super rare rabbits, I'm like, yo, what do the Celestial Dragons know about the lore of the world? Because the Master of Ceremony says, hey, You cannot call yourself a world noble if you have not heard of them before. Finally, we have a rediscovery after 800 years. We have the Davy Clan. He announces them like that. So it's like, yo, like the world nobles, they know about world history to an extent. What do they know about the Davy Clan? What makes the Davy Clan special? And I think this is awesome because it goes back, I talked about this yesterday, but it goes back to Van Augur and Kenry Devon talking to Saturn, where they talk about Blackbeard's lineage. At first, it was like, okay, maybe that's because of rocks, but that doesn't have to be the case, because we have to remember, Blackbeard is special. Aside from him being Rocks-Davy's son, we gotta keep in mind that Blackbeard is weird. Blackbeard does not sleep. He's never slept once in his life, and not just that, but his body allows him to eat 2 devil fruits. And even Marco says that his body is oddly configured. We do not know what any of that means. That could be a Davy Clan exclusive ability that exists within Blackbeard. Or it could be a curse. That kind of sounds like a curse, right? And it's funny because one of the earliest images we have of Blackbeard, minus when he's begging Whitebeard to be led onto his ship, is when Blackbeard is sitting down crying looking at the moon. And it's like, yeah, that's probably because he can't sleep, you know? Which I saw somebody spinning it a different way. They said he's crying at the moon because the moon looks like Garling, and I thought that was hilarious. Which I think could also fit, but, you know, Garling back then didn't have that hair, so it's just nice headcanon at the end of the day. But yeah, looks like Blackbeard will have some special abilities, kind of like how the Buccaneers have a special ability as well too, right? Back on Egghead Island, Vegapunk talked about how, oh, you know, Buccaneers, they're not just known for their boisterous strength and bodies, they also ... and then Vegapunk never finished that thought. The Buccaneer clan also have something special to them that we do not know of yet. So I think the Davy Clan will be the exact same way. And also, I do think this is confirmation that whatever Garling found last chapter was indeed the Davy Clan. You know, because he said, hey, Emu will love this, God hunting tournament, it all makes sense now. And now that we know that Shanks' mom existed on this island well beforehand, I do kind of just wonder, is Shanks also part of the Davy Clan? Because there is a chance that's the case, and that's kind of what everybody's talking about. They're like, wait a minute, were Blackbeard's mom and Shanks' mom neighbors? Were they friends? Were they cousins? Like, what is the family feud here, man? I don't know. I think it would just be odd if they were related, but that could be the case, right? You know, I don't want to write that off because there's nothing to write it off with. So yeah, there is a chance that Blackbeard and Shanks are related. It's not 0%. I'm probably going to hold a poll on that later just to see how everybody feels about it. Personally, I think they could be. Well, I don't know. You know, it could be like, you know, people have been memeing about this, and I talked about it yesterday too, but it could be like the Naruto thing, where Naruto and Sasuke, like, their moms were friends with each other. They were friendly. They walked by each other like on a daily basis or something. It could be like that. You know, they just met in passing. They don't have to be related because it's a big island, right? I doubt everybody at God Valley is a part of the Davy Clan, but we'll see. We'll see. So last thing to talk about is Dragon. Monkey D. Dragon, of course, is here on this island. He is not with Garp. He's just a simple marine soldier who is guarding the island for the Celestial Dragons. But Dragon, of course, always had an altruistic nature to him, so he went on the island and followed a trail of blood, and that is what led him to Shanks and Shamrock's mother. And the mom, whose face we still don't see in this chapter, she simply tells Dragon to please save her children from him. She doesn't say his name, she just says him, but we know who they're talking about, right? She does not want her kids to fall into Garling's custody. So, just like a lot of you guys out there, I also believe that Dragon is the explanation as to why Shanks ended up in the treasure chest at God Valley. But now, we can take that a step further, and a lot of people have been doing this as well. You know, I'm not special here, but if Dragon put Shanks in that chest, he must have taken something out of it. What would that have been? What if that is where Dragon ate his devil fruit? I think that'd be amazing. Hey, I am down for it. I love that idea. especially with how prominent the devil fruits on this island are, right? The pawpaw fruit and the Seryu fruit. Yes, I would love it if Dragon's power was on that same level. So, as far as Dragon goes, though, I don't know how he's going to perform on this island. Minus saving Shanks, I don't know how well he'll stand up against your Rogers, your Roxes, even the Holy Knights. Like, I can't imagine a 17-year-old Dragon doing that well, but we'll see. You know, maybe his rage will come up after seeing what's happening on this island, and he'll really just go sicko mode, but I'm not too sure yet. I feel like a confrontation between Dragon and Garling would be really interesting, especially since a lot of people tend to pit the Revolutionary Army against the Holy Knights. I think it would be nice if their leaders initially met as teenagers. So alongside Dragon, I also wonder if Akainu was here as well. Because, you know, this is their era, right? This is when they're all rookies. They're all still Marines in training. I wouldn't be shocked if a younger Akainu was also on this island, maybe a young Kizaru, Aokiji, etc. I think that would be really cool. Like, maybe they all witnessed the same event, and then they all had different takeaways. But of course, we don't see any of them here. That is just purely speculation. And yeah, this chapter is looking pretty damn solid. So, that being said, let me know what you guys thought about this chapter down below. I would love to hear all your thoughts, theories, and opinions down there. And I'll catch you guys in the next couple of days, because we will be coming back and going through that comment section. So if you want your comment read, make sure to drop it down below. You guys stay safe till then. Peace out, brothers.